Can you pick out North Dakota on a blank US map? Did you know only 30% of Americans can? Now, what I find strange about this, 44% of Canadians can pick out North Dakota on a blank US map. It's not even their country. But they also think it's okay to have potato chips that taste like ketchup, so they're all kinds of screwed up. Today, we're looking at the results of a survey we did where we listed 30 reasons why North Dakota isn't a good place to live. These 30 reasons were reasons people most often gave when asked why they don't like living in North Dakota. We took the top 10 answers that were chosen most often. One really strange thing about this is most of the reasons had to do with Mother Nature. There's a lot of good things going on in North Dakota. They rank 4th in the nation for infrastructure, 16th for crime, fiscal stability, they're also ranked 16, and natural environment, they're ranked 8th. So overall, this isn't really a bad state. It's just a lot of people don't like living there. A lot of people don't want to move there, and we're going to find out why. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, low population. North Dakota is ranked 47th in population. Only Alaska, Wyoming, and Vermont have fewer people. Rhode Island has 250,000 more people than North Dakota, and it's a fraction of the size. If you're an angry old man that lives in the Peace Garden state because you hate other human beings, this is great news, and it's probably why you moved to North Dakota. But let's say you're a business owner in North Dakota that needs human beings to come into the business to actually make a living, or you're a human being that likes other human beings, you're a politician that would like to entice businesses to the state, or you would like to date and maybe marry someone that isn't on your Ancestry.com page, this state sucks. And that's one of the biggest complaints people that have moved to North Dakota have. There's not enough people here to date. I mean, it's nice sometimes not to have people around, but North Dakota and Alaska take that to an extreme. Number 9, the wind. Yes, the wind is such a big thing here in North Dakota, it actually becomes a reason that people don't want to move to the state. This part of the country is sort of known for its wind. Wyoming and Montana get it pretty bad as well. North Dakota's wind does damage, and it can be scary, especially if you're driving on the open road. And if you're a trucker, even more so. Here's a little lesson on why this is a thing. Wind slows with friction, which is not what they have a lot of in the upper plains area of the United States. Sure, Montana and Wyoming do have some mountains and some wooded areas, but most of both of those states are wide open grasslands. I mentioned this before and a guy left a comment that says, "What are you talking about? I live in Wyoming and I've got 2 trees in my front yard." North Dakota sees an average of 32 tornadoes each year, so another type of wind. And when the jet stream starts howling across that part of the country, you could feel it in North Dakota. Number 8, out of control wildlife. This is kind of a big deal, especially if you're moving from a city. Wildlife scares city folks, that's all there is to it. But for most city folks, driving through a really dangerous neighborhood isn't that scary to them, and it should be. Human beings are far more dangerous and more likely to attack than wildlife. But North Dakota does have some wildlife issues. They have wolves, bison, moose, coyotes, all the typical things that could attack you. Now, those things rarely happen, but it is a fear that people have, and it's a reason they don't move to states that are like North Dakota and Wyoming and Montana. Some people really are afraid of that. But the biggest problem you will have with wildlife in North Dakota is running into them on the road. People hit deer constantly here, and occasionally you get stopped by a herd of buffalo that just decided to stand in the middle of the road. You just kind of got to keep your head on a swivel when you're driving around North Dakota. The locals are used to it, they have no problem with it, and they probably don't even understand what I'm talking about right now because that's their life. But if you're moving from a city, this is something that you'll need to worry about and need to be aware of, at least till you're kind of used to the area. But other things you could run into while living in North Dakota, mountain lions, black bears, even wolverines, which were gone from this state for many years, and they've seen some in recent years. And don't get too close to a bison when you're, trying to get a selfie. They do attack, and it will not end well for you if they do run you over. Number 7, housing shortages. Now, first of all, real estate is pretty cheap in North Dakota compared to other states, and that's why this one's kind of strange. Normally, when you have a housing shortage, houses are expensive. It's not bad here in North Dakota, but their housing shortage exists for another reason. Lack of specialists, plumbers, electricians, heating and air professionals. A lot of the different contractor skills and professions are in short supply in North Dakota. North Dakota in the last few years has been in the beginning stages of exploring ways to increase housing availability, both ownership and rental. They're looking at things like land cost reduction programs, tax credit programs, a housing information hub that makes finding rentals easier. They also have to hurdle the problem of two of their biggest cities where most of their building supplies will come into the state from are Fargo and Grand Forks. They're on the east side of the state, like on the border of the east side of the state. So if you need building supplies in the center of the state, it can be a hassle sometimes. Not always, but they do have some hurdles they have to get over. Number 6, long, hot summers. When it's summer, the humidity and the bugs are out to get you in North Dakota. Now, we'll talk about the bugs more later on in this video, but the heat and the humidity is pretty bad in North Dakota. You wouldn't expect it if you don't know about North Dakota. You think, okay, it's a northern state, it's not going to get that hot. No, it gets pretty hot and it gets really humid. There's a lot of water all around this state, and that just builds that humidity. Remember how I was telling you people complain about the windy conditions? Well, you get a nice humid day in North Dakota around July, you start dreaming about those windy days. Of course, hot, humid days often kick off thunderstorms, but the humidity, the heat, and the bugs will really work you over in North Dakota. Number 5, long, harsh winters. Like I said, Mother Nature plays a big part of why people don't like living in North Dakota. Sub-zero temperatures are quite common in most of North Dakota every single year. Winter, by far, is the longest season this state has to deal with. Of course, you got that insane wind that kicks up during the winter. Be pretty dangerous, especially if you're on the road. Here's a neat fact about North Dakota. Snow has been recorded in every single month of the year except for July and August. Now, that's not every single year. You know, they're not having snowstorms in May and June every single year, but it has happened where they've gotten some snow in those months. I was reading this article and a woman said that one of the biggest jokes in North Dakota is when you're getting towards the end of the winter and someone always says, well, I think that's it for the snow for this year. And every time someone says that, it seems like a week later it snows again. Now, if you're not used to this type of weather, in North Dakota, if let's say it dumps a foot of snow while you're sleeping, that doesn't mean no one goes to work or school the next day. You still make it. One of their biggest storms ever, a massive blizzard blanketed North Dakota in 1966. The blizzard began on March 2nd, 1966 and lasted 3 days. During that time, 30 inches of snow fell on most of the state. Number 4, it's boring. North Dakota is considered the second most boring state in the nation. The only one that's more boring? Nebraska. If you're looking for a city life or going to the club, don't look in North Dakota. It's not going to happen. The highlight of this entire state is like the state fair every year. If you're looking for various urban amenities, I guess you could say, like commercial entertainment options, theme parks, professional sports, it's not happening in North Dakota. But they do have ice fishing, hunting, and cross-country skiing for almost half the year. Number 3, the bugs. Yes, North Dakota has a whole lot of creepy crawlies. Most of the time people assume this is something that only goes on in the South. But if you've ever been to Michigan, Minnesota, or Wisconsin, you know mosquitoes are plentiful. Well, that goes on in North Dakota too, along with a lot of other bugs. First things first, the state's bug is the ladybug, which should be another bug, maybe one of the more dangerous ones, but they're going with the ladybug to make you feel safe. I'm sure they like to hide the fact that they have something called an assassin bug here. This bug carries a parasite which causes Chagas disease. Chagas disease kills about 12,000 people every year worldwide. These things are often confused with cockroaches. I've seen both these bugs, and I think there's a clear difference between an assassin bug, also known as kissing bug, and a cockroach. But to some people, this is confusing. To me, it's about as confusing as a hippopotamus and an elephant. But the fun doesn't stop there. They got a whole bunch of really scary looking bugs. The bold jumping spider, they can jump 50 times their body length. The cow killer, which is always a pleasant name for a bug. Pseudoscorpion, the cat-faced spider, giant water bug. This thing's like the size of your hand, they say. I've never seen one in person, but looks pretty big. They also have a thing called a running crab spider. If you're a person that doesn't like bugs or insects, this should scare you away from moving to North Dakota. It's been listed. A lot of people have a problem with insects. They also have your typical mosquitoes, ticks, and other creepy crawlers, but those are the big ones that you'll find in North Dakota that you might not find in other parts of the United States. Number 2, lack of diversity. Now, normally I wouldn't bring this one up, but we're doing a survey and this is something that came up. Most of the time, it seems the situation is people would move there and they realize that there's 90% white people here in this state and they don't feel very welcome. In my experience in North Dakota, I'm Caucasian, so I'm sure I'm getting a different experience than other people, but the people of North Dakota have always been very friendly. I've never had a problem with them. But that is true that North Dakota has 90% white population. Now, the problem with lack of diversity, that means you have different cultural events you'll probably never see, never experience that are eye-opening, they're enjoyable, and they kind of help you grow as a person when you learn about other cultures. And the thing I always bring up when it comes to lack of diversity, the biggest thing for me is the food. I love different types of food. And if you go to a place that doesn't have a lot of diversity, they usually don't have a lot of really cool restaurants that serve different food past pub food. That was the second biggest complaint people had about moving to North Dakota. So it's kind of a big deal for a lot of people. All right, before we get to number 1, don't forget we have another channel called On This Day. There's a link for that below. There's also a link for Home and Money. If you're thinking about moving to another state and you need to get in contact with a realtor to wherever you're moving to, this website will help you find a real estate agent anywhere in the country. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, long travel times. Traveling in North Dakota is tedious. You will hear this a lot. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? This is one of those things that every parent hates, and you will hear it a lot if you have kids and you're living in North Dakota, because nothing is 10 minutes away like it is in a city. If you're in Los Angeles or Boston, everything that's 10 minutes away should be 10 minutes away, but it's really 30 minutes away. North Dakota doesn't have a lot of big cities. Fargo, Grand Forks, Sioux Falls, Bismarck. Fargo being the largest with only about 250,000 people in the metro area. Those aren't really big cities. So if you're living in one of the small towns, which a lot of people are warming up to in North Dakota, they're heading there. If you need to go to Fargo or wherever, it's going to be a drive. You need to go to the hospital, it's going to be a drive. If you need to go to Canada to get some potato chips that taste like ketchup, it's going to be a drive. In most cases, it's a drive that's going to take snacks and at least one stop for a bathroom break. Many areas in North Dakota aren't directly accessible from the interstate, so extra travel time is always going to be there. There's endless roads that seem to take you nowhere, all along farming fields. But I'll tell you what, if you like driving, hey, it might be a great place for you to live. And it's not just the driving. You want to get a flight in and out of this state? Yeah, it's kind of rough. The airports are small, with limited flight schedules to popular destinations, so air travel takes much longer and costs a lot more than in other states. So that's the biggest complaint that people have about moving to North Dakota. It's the travel, whether it's flying, driving, whatever. It takes forever, and in some cases, like flying, it's expensive to get places. All right, that's today's list. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. You know, the reality about North Dakota is it's not that bad of a state. It's actually low crime, low cost of living, low housing costs. You just got to be a different type of person to want to live here. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Be nice to each other.